Yar mateys, this be daily FaB gameplay, I be Lupinefiasco, and today you're gonna walk the plank. I'm kidding, we're not gonna do anything that exciting. No, we're playing Flesh and Blood. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago. After enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I'll talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the lines I would take now, compared to the lines I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new upload from Daily FaB Gameplay in your video feed. You'll find a Fabry link to the deck list I'm playing here in the video description below. You'll also find a link to my Patreon page. Subscribers can get access to matchup guides for all of my tournament-winning deck lists and weekly bonus content including draft reviews and deck techs. Want to tighten and optimize your gameplay in real life? Use my affiliate link in the video description to buy your very own Codex journal, and be sure to use code LUPINE10, that's LUPINE10, at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Finally, Daily FaB Gameplay is brought to you in part by Hemel from The Bazaar. It's never been more affordable to play in the Flesh and Blood. Players have been buying the cards they need from Hemel for years. I started buying from him in 2023 and have never found a better deal. The Bazaar's prices are the lowest for singles, full sets, and class sets, including new releases. High Seas singles and more are available now and ship both domestically and internationally. Message Hemel on Blue Sky, Discord, email, or Twitter to see what he can do for you. Now, let's get into it. Oscilio stock is on the rise. Our best piece of tech into Oscilio is Claw of Dracai. It does have the potential to clunk up some of our bigger turns. Wrath of Retribution and Spreading Flames become a little worse, but we do get that added damage buffer against Oscilio's big spells, which is going to keep us alive a little bit longer. May make it so that Oscilio can't combo kill us just because we have a few extra points of life. The biggest thing that Claw does for us is take away Oscilio's ability to make a play like Sigil of Lightning, tap Volzar for free, Mind Warp for 3. It just means that we have some added insulation from these little Mind Warp plays that get extra value by taking cards out of our hand. So I'm really impressed by Claw in this matchup. We won the die roll. We chose to go first, which I believe is correct against Oscilio and Kano. Oscilio has a number of non-blocks in his deck. We can't just get free damage over the top. And the way that this hand is looking, I want to try to push as much as I can. A lot of this hinges on whether Oscilio has Calming Breeze, Shelter from the Storm, or chooses to use Cap of Quick Thinking. What I would like my turn to look like is Brand with Cinder Claw, Flick Knives, throw my Claw of Dracai at Oscilio, hit. I don't need a resource, but I do want to turn on Cut Through. And after Cut Through, I'll play out the Lava Burst. I'm pushing this turn if I can get damage over an Oscilio that doesn't have blocking cards in hand. And what that turn looks like is Brand with Cinder Claw, Auto Dragon Blood, Cut Through into Lava Burst. So we're getting a 16 damage 4-card hand here, and if Oscilio really clunks up on non-blocks, then we might even get a Mask of Momentum trigger. If Oscilio does use Cap of Quick Thinking this turn, then obviously we bail out. I'm going to Arsenal the Lava Burst, and I'm just pretty happy to have gotten Cap this early in the game. Cap has a lot of potential to screw up future turns, and we're just kind of ahead. So I'm flicking Claw rather than Kunai because if Oscilio does use Cap of Quick Thinking, for one thing, I cannot continue after playing Cut Through. It doesn't have Go again. so I cannot play Lava Burst. But the other reason is Branded with Cinderclaw plus Art of Dragonblood are 2 Draconic Chain Links. I don't have a third link to activate Cindra for free and buy back whichever dagger I flick. So if I'm going to arsenal this Lava Burst, which is not a Draconic starter, and then I draw a hand of more non-starters, I really want to have Kunai so that I can pitch a red and get my Draconic starter rather than keep Claw to play around any kind of arcane nonsense that Oscilio has going on, but that would brick up my hand if I don't have a starter. We do get Cap of Quick Thinking out of Oscilio, which is good for him. It really limits how much damage we can output this turn, but it's good for us because now Cap of Quick Thinking is just gone. We don't have to worry about Oscilio screwing up our future Flick Knives turns with an onboard piece of equipment. Yes, he can have Calming Breeze or Shelter from the Storm, but he needs to draw into it, and he would not have a way an onboard way to stop us from Flick Knives. I mean, imagine if that dagger hit. If Oscilio doesn't use Cap of Quick Thinking there and he's got 2 instants in hand, not only do we draw a card from Mask of Momentum, but we've also pushed 6 more damage. We're very far ahead, so good thinking, quick thinking even, from Oscilio. But we're still happy to get that piece of equipment out of the way. What did I say about not having a Draconic starter in hand? This is looking pretty good. We do have an out here if Oscilio, if we did have our Claw of Enserakai, because what we would be able to do is potentially block with Conceal Blade, and then send Fire Tenant, Rabble, Flick, make a resource, play Hump a Hunter, mark Oscilio, potentially make a Fealty as well, and maybe that sets us up for buying back our daggers in the future and having an actual good turn. But this is an interesting line we can take. So currently this Blast to Oblivion does not have Go Again. Oscilio will draw a card if it hits from Channel Lightning Valley. Oscilio would need exactly Blink or need to use Old Knocker into Lightning Greaves, or even just pitch to Lightning Greaves, which honestly is kind of a win for us if Oscilio uses Lightning Greaves to make action points when we're at 40 and Oscilio's only on a 5-card hand. So if we don't block Blast and Oscilio doesn't have Blink or some other way to get an action point, then his turn just ends. What does our turn do? Why aren't we blocking Blast to Oblivion? And the answer is our hand outputs really good damage. So what we get to do is we get to pitch Conceal Blade to send Kunai of Retribution. We assume that Oscilio is going to block with Lightning Greaves or Arcane Bindings. Then we play Fire Tenant Strike first for 3, Ravenous Rabble for 4, and with our 2 floating resources we can play Hump a Hunter for 6, which is going to mark Oscilio and represent a big Mask of Momentum trigger. Now Oscilio, if he chooses to block the Hump a Hunter, we can Flick Knives, keep our Mask of Momentum chain alive. We don't need to use Blood Splattered Vest because what we can do instead is use our remaining floating resource to pay for Flight Path, then play Lava Burst from Arsenal. So overall, we are threatening 1, 4, 8, 14, 15, 20 damage this turn, and a Mask of Momentum trigger that is positioned on a 6-power attack. If that gets blocked, it's a 5-power attack. So we're very likely to draw from Mask of Momentum this turn. And that means I really want to keep Conceal Blade, because if I block with Conceal Blade, I get 3 value out of it, and then my turn is 3, 7, potentially 14. And that is only if the Flicked Dagger connects. If it doesn't connect, then I don't get to play Hump the Hunter. I take an intellect penalty because I have 2 cards I can't play. I guess I could play Lava Burst for 2. And I'm down both of my daggers. So I really just need to take damage from the Blast to Oblivion. I should probably give Flight Path here, considering that I'm planning on using it to block. And I am not super confident that Oscilio has Disruption. I know some Oscilio lists have been playing Command and Conquer, and that's reliant on Oscilio having the blink to make the action point, then being able to play Command and Conquer. But even if Oscilio does play CNC, we have 2/3 blocks that we can use to protect our arsenal. We could also just give the arsenal and send a 4-card 15 that threatens Mask of Momentum. So we should have blocked with Flight Path there to keep our 1 point. It's neither here nor there. It is a mistake, but it isn't probably a game-losing one, and it doesn't impact what we're doing this turn. The reason I don't want to send Fire Tenant into Kunai is that I don't want to give Oscilio the chance to block with Greaves and Arcane Bindings. I want Oscilio to give me Greaves. Then we get to actually start our Mask of Momentum chain that will require Oscilio to give me real cards from hand to stop the damage. Now here, we can go ahead and not flick because our Mask of Momentum chain is still possible between Raven's Rabble, Hunt the Hunter, and Lava Burst. We don't need to flick on the Fire Tenant, then play Rabble and have Oscilio give us a 3-block plus Aether Bindings. Instead, we're going to play the Rabble. We're going to get in for 4. Oscilio isn't going to block this because as far as he knows, he has no reason to do so. Between Hunt the Hunter and Lava Burst, I don't think it really matters which one we play here. They're both going to attack for 6, and then the next one is always going to attack for 5, so we're getting our 2-card 11 either way. I guess Hunt the Hunter is the more valuable one to attack with, considering that we are intending to flick knives on that chain link, so we at least make a fealty really no matter what happens. But I am expecting Oscilio to either block here and then not block the next one, or not block here and block the next one, and I need to flick knives either way. So here we do flick. We don't need to put a counter on our Blood Splattered Vest. We can keep it. And then we are going to use our Blood Splattered Vest with our remaining resource, and we get to Lava Burst for 5. Unless Oscilio has a defense reaction, he cannot stop this Lava Burst. We get to buy back both of our daggers and arsenal a Wrath of Retribution. We're looking really good this turn. Do we need to care about Gone in a Flash? It will draw a card from Channel Lightning Valley. We don't have an easy piece of equipment to use with a breaking point in order to stop the hit trigger. Could we put a breaking point in front of Gone in a Flash just to get 3 value? We don't have our Flight Path anymore, so we cannot play 2 breaking points in a turn. Well, what do I want to do this turn? I want to play Ignite as a starter. For one thing, I need to. Hot on Their Heels does not have natural go again, neither does either breaking point. I could then follow up with a Kunai. Then I could play Hot on Their Heels. Because I have 3 Draconic Links, I get to play Wrath of Retribution for free. The problem with playing Wrath on Chainlink 3 is I have already attacked with a Kunai. So I can still flick knives, activate Cindra, buy back by Kunai, send another 2, but I've lost 1 point of damage from my Kunai attack. I could have gotten 2 on that first Kunai instead of just 1. So what if instead we play Ignite, then we pitch a breaking point to play Wrath from Arsenal, that's 3, then we send Kunai for 2 go again, then Hot on Their Heels for 3 go again, we flick a Kunai, deal 1 point of damage, activate Cindra, buy back our Kunai, send that Kunai for 2. At some point in there, we will have made a resource with Blood Splattered Vest, and then we get to play the other breaking point. So to pull this turn off, we don't need 2 copies of Breaking Point, but we get more damage if we have the second copy. So let's math it out. We block with a Breaking Point, we get 3 from that. Then we send Ignite for 2, Kunai for 1, Hot on Their Heels is a total of 6, Wrath is a total of 9, Flick for 10, Cindra, Kunai for 12, then Breaking Point for 5 is a total of 17. This would have been a 4-card 20. What if instead we pitch the Breaking Point? We get to do Ignite for 2, Wrath for 5, Kunai is 7, Hot on Their Heels is 10, Flick is 11, Kunai is 13, then Breaking Point for 18. We get 2 less value, we get 1 more point of damage, we have more ways to interact with Oscilio's potential to Calming Breeze or Shelter us. Honestly, the math says that we should block with Breaking Point here. That's the only thing we can block with. We can't use Blood Splattered Vest because we need the resource from it to play our Breaking Point. We don't want to use Mask of Momentum while our opponent is at 23. I think we are better off blocking this Gone in a Flash with a Breaking Point and getting 2 extra points of value from it, losing 1 point of attack power, but just keeping some health. There is a real argument. Let me know in the comments how you would play this line out. Do you value dealing the extra point of damage to Oscilio to try to close the game out sooner? Or are you blocking with the Breaking Point to try to preserve some life against a wizard who is ultimately trying to combo us out? It's an interesting question. I don't know which line is right. They both have their merits. If the second line dealt less damage and also took more damage, then that would be objectively incorrect. But here we do have an argument to say, is it worth dealing 1 more point of damage and taking 2 more points than it is to deal 1 less point, but take 2 less points? I don't know. We're going to play out everything as I intended. Oscilio here is not blocking, so we are going to get to draw a card from Mask Momentum. We have a Dragon Power, so it's a shame that we don't still have our Flight Path. If we could play out a Breaking Point into a Fealtied Dragon Power, that would be insane. We can't do that. So between the Dragon Point and the Breaking Point, Dragon Power, Breaking Point, we can't play one of them. What I like playing here is Breaking Point. We know that Oscilio has Gone in a Flash in Arsenal. It was the only card he had left in his last hand, and I want to keep him off of combo. So either the Breaking Point is going to destroy Gone in a Flash, or he's going to give me 2 cards to protect the Gone in a Flash in Arsenal. He could have a D-React and use Aether Bindings, and that would be pretty bad for us. But we're sending 5 points of damage either way. One of them has an on-hit and one of them doesn't. So we're going to send the one with the on-hit that has the potential to slow down Oscilio, which is what I really want to be doing. Here you can see how I brought up at the start of the turn, oh, we're going to get punished by having Claw instead of Kunai. It's a little unfortunate that Oscilio hasn't sent any arcane damage at us so far, but in theory he could have been doing that. We get 2 cards out of Oscilio. Notably, we get 2 spells, a Shock and a Etchings of Arcane. So this Gone in a Flash could have been Old Knocker, Leighton Greaves, play Shock, play Gone in a Flash, play Sigil, pick up the Gone in a Flash, Etchings of Arcane us. Oscilio would have actually gotten to use the points on Volzar, which would have been pretty devastating on our side. But here, if Oscilio doesn't have a spell, then this is just raw damage and we can keep all of these cards in our hand. We have that Dragon Power in Arsenal. We have 2 charges left of our Blood Splattered Vest, so we have the potential to have a really nice turn here, and it just depends on whether we get to connect with our daggers. So what I would like to do is open with Ronin Renegade, flick a knife, make a resource, use that resource to play Spreading Flames, then play Blood Runs Deep, which gets the Spreading Flames buff. We can activate Cindra as a response to the Blood Runs Deep, buy back both of our daggers, throw both of them at Oscilio, use the last charge of our Blood Splattered Vest to make a resource, send Blaze Headlong for 4 go again, then use Fealty to Dragon Power for 6. Overall, we are threatening 3, 4, 7, 10, 12, 16, 22 damage from a 5-card hand on a 10 health hero. We have the potential to draw from Mask of Momentum. We're at 33. Oscilio's on 3 cards. I am confident that he cannot kill me this turn, so again, all of our cards have bigger numbers in the bottom right than they do in the bottom left, which says that we are not supposed to block this turn. Technically, Blood Runs Deep has a larger number in the bottom left than the bottom right. Because we're throwing our daggers and getting extra value from our daggers, we are incentivized to keep Blood Runs Deep. If nothing else, we also need to keep a second Draconic card so that we can discount Blood Runs Deep to 0, which means the only card in this hand that I would want to block with would probably be Spreading Flames, just to ensure that I get to play the Blood Runs Deep no matter what. We want to flick here because we want our resource so that we can play Spreading Flames before we play Blood Runs Deep so that we can maximize our Spreading Flames value. Now, Oscilio does have the Shelter from the Storm and soaks up 2 of its charges of prevention. We don't get our resource from Blood Splattered Vest, but we do soak up 2 of those charges. So now if Blaze Headlong connects, if Oscilio just has a 3 block and clears the last point of prevention from Shelter from the Storm, we can still Blood Runs Deep, activate Cindra, flick both daggers, make 2 resources go into Spreading Flames for 4, Dragon Power for 6. If Oscilio gives us a 3 block plus Arcane Binding, then we are still going to do our Blood Runs Deep line, buy back both of our daggers. One of those daggers will be prevented, which means that we can only use Blood Splattered Vest once, which means that I'm going to Fealty Dragon Power to send 6 and Arsenal my Spreading Flames to set up for my next turn. If we push 5 here, we potentially put Oscilio down to 3, and we see what we draw into. It's a handful of reds, so we aren't going to get maximum value out of our Spreading Flames. There's a good chance that we just don't really get any value out of our Spreading Flames, but what we can at least do is just send a bunch of damage. We can pitch Ancestral Empowerment, play Spreading Flames from Arsenal for 3 go again, play Ravenous Rabble, Lava Burst. Assuming that our 2 Rabbles reveal reds, we are sending a 5-card 16. It's not incredible. We can even use a Fealty to make one of the Rabbles Draconic, to then get our 3rd Draconic Chain Link so that we can activate Cindra on the Lava Burst so that we can get 2 of our daggers back and flick 1, which turns this into a 5-card 17. Again, not insane, but there is a really good chance that Oscilio just dies because he only has 3 remaining health. We are not going to block the Gone in a Flash. We could also look at sending Rabble. Never mind, we don't have daggers, we can't flick knives to make a resource. Okay, so now we get Mind Warped. Volzar had 2 charges on it, so even if we did have a blue to activate Cindra as a response to get back our Claw of Vincerikai, we can't stop the Mind Warp Surge effect, so we just let it connect. The hand that we draw into is still pretty good. Now we do have a blue to pay for Spreading Flames, but the actual sequencing of the turn is a little interesting, and I think I get it wrong in the moment. But my goal here is to be able to attack with both kunai and be able to flick, which means I need to pitch Conceal Blade, play Spreading Flames. I will have 2 resources floating. The safest way to play out this turn, where it doesn't matter what Oscilio has in hand, is just play Spreading Flames, probably use Fealty, play Fire Tenant, play Ronin Renegade, activate Cindra, dagger, flick. And that means that we are sending 3, 6, 10, 12, 14, 15 damage on 4 cards. One of which will be unpreventable damage, unless Oscilio had, unblockable damage. And that's pretty good. What I'd like to do is sequence in such a way that I get to use my last charge of Blood Splattered Vest, and therefore get the power buff from Spreading Flames on Ronin Renegade, which means that what I need to do, as far as I believe, let me know in the comments if you math this out. The actual best way to sequence this turn is to break my Fealty, play Fire Tenant for 3 go again, pitch Conceal Blade for Spreading Flames for 4 go again, activate Cindra, get back both of my daggers. I have 1 resource floating. Use one of those daggers to attack with a kunai for 2. If that hits, then I use my last charge of Blood Splattered Vest, make another resource. Then I play Ronin Renegade for 4. Then I use my resource to attack with kunai for 2 and flick a dagger. And that all comes out to 3, 7, 9, 13, 14, 16 damage on 4 cards. We get 1 extra point, And there's also just a really good chance that Oscilio is dead before then. Now, what's the fail case for that? The fail case is that we miss 2 points of damage because we don't get to attack with our kunai, because Oscilio has prevention for the kunai for 2 and the flicked kunai. At the same time, I gotta think that Oscilio is just far enough behind that this doesn't matter. But as far as I believe, as far as I've mathed out, the optimal way to sequence this turn is Fealty, Fire Tenant, Spreading Flames, Dagger, Ronin, Dagger, Flick. Which you can see me attempting to math out here. I immediately screw it up because I don't drink my Fealty before playing the Fire Tenant, which means that we absolutely cannot do the optimal line. Now, it doesn't matter because Oscilio has 4 instants in hand. After Oscilioing to get rid of an instant, yikes. So it really doesn't matter how we sequence that turn, we still win either way, but I think that was the right way to do it. Some pretty interesting sequencing decisions there, that a lot of them got stopped by Oscilio just having prevention at the right time. We missed 5 points of damage in a mask trigger on turn 0 because Oscilio used the Cap of Quick Thinking. We missed 3, 4, 5 points of damage on our previous turn because Oscilio had the Shelter from the Storm, which meant that we couldn't Blood-Splattered Vest twice to work a Spreading Flames into our turn before we Dragon Power. Oscilios are going to be built to at least have some counterplay into Cindra, and specifically her flick effects. They're all playing Shelter from the Storm. I believe they're all playing Calming Breeze. Cap of Quick Thinking, which I didn't know, can be used multiple times in a turn. I thought it was a one and done. But you can break Cap and then just keep discarding instants to keep preventing 1 point of damage, which is really strong if you're trying to stop multiple kunai attacks or a flick plus a Blood Runs Deep. It's just really good. So the Oscilio sequencing can be interesting because a lot of the time you need to decide before your turn even starts, is Oscilio going to be able to stop this? How risky can I play? How much do I need to count on Oscilio having the damage prevention? So the sooner you can get Cap, the better off you are. The more you're paying attention to is Oscilio playing Shelters, playing Calming Breezes, pitching them, discarding them to the Oscilio effect, the better off you're going to be. Just judging on life total, this game looked wildly in our favor, and it was. We got to go first as well, which was very strong. Oscilio had a couple of do-nothing turns, but don't put all your eggs in this basket of my Flick Knives is going to connect, and I'm going to get a resource, and my cut-through is going to be online, because if you're wrong, especially if you play a cut-through, intending to flick a dagger to give it go again in reaction speed, and the Oscilio has damage prevention, and your turn ends and you had cards in hand, you're the saddest Cindra. So I hope this game was informative. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, be sure to head jab that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free. It helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon, links to which are in the video description below. And as always, I will be back with more daily FaB gameplay. Until then, take care.